Every interview I've ever seen you do, you're always glowing with energy. You've got this big smile. You're happy, and you have your reason for that. And I love the answer to it, but you have to tell the viewers.
Right. So there are two reasons. One, I don't have any footprint on social media. And the reason, well, so actually, when I mentioned that on Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience, he said, thank God for that. And I told him, don't thank God, thank my wife. So indeed, she advised me not to do it. And that brings me to the second aspect of maintaining my happiness. And, I think the most important aspect of your life, I mean, aside from diet and exercise and sleep, that are often mentioned as very important for your health. I would argue that an even more important contributor to your health is who you're married to. And that's why the choice is really important when you have to make it, So I'm happy because I can pursue my passion in science, and the background, is quite supportive. And right now, it's the happiest moment in my career in the sense that I can be creative. For a decade or so, I was dedicating my time mostly to other people as a chair of a department, as a director of two centers, and chair of various boards. And I felt that's an obligation, but I felt like a server in a restaurant where people ask me to do things, and I'm, trying to enable whatever they wish. And so I was attending to the wishes of other people. Now, as soon as I finish those jobs, I can go back to the saddle and or the trenches and continue with my creative work, which is giving me a lot of pleasure. And um, two days ago, I should say, 2 days ago, I had a donation of 51 watercolors and two bronze sculptures of Galileo to my office. But the gift that was most significant by the artist who made them, Greg Wyatt, who is the most accomplished sculptor in the US, he's called the America's Rodin. The biggest gift was not these 51 watercolors and of scientists and two bronze sculptures of Galileo. It was a template that he gave me, a foundation, along with sculpting tools to create a new sculpture. For the first time, I will create a bronze sculpture in the coming weeks. And I told him I will call it the alien. So I will try to create what in my mind an alien might look like. And I will try not to imitate any of the images that we saw in science fiction films, for example. And of course, if we have an encounter with some alien as a result of the visit by 3i Atlas, that would help me. I will not need to imagine anything. Just like Galileo, had some watercolor drawings of the moon when he looked through his telescope. I'll be glad to sculpt, to make a bronze sculpture based on an encounter with a real alien. I mean, that would be in the spirit of Galileo's drawings. It's sort of the interface between art and science. You're using art to describe scientifically what you're witnessing, and that's what Galileo did. So anyway, that's to answer your question. That's the reason I'm happy now, because I can pursue my passion creatively.
I'm very curious because maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. I might be right about this one, in as much as that I get the distinct impression through watching a lot of your interviews. This is a very exciting time for you.
It is.
And I get this energy from you when you're talking about it, your passion, your complete. I feel that you're getting a lack of sleep just now with the excitement.
No, my lifestyle is very efficient. I work around the clock and very efficiently. So I write essays almost every morning on medium.com. You can find the updates. And yesterday I had an interview by a reporter that is writing a profile about me, and so he followed me for a day, and he asked me, your productivity in writing essays. So he was just referring to the essays, not to the scientific papers that I write in parallel, and not to the 8 interviews that I do every day. He was just referring to the essays and said that makes no sense. How can you write so many of them? And I have now I have more than 100,000 followers actually, and every per month I have about 5 million readers of those essays. So anyway, he said, how surely you can't write all of this. Do you have someone that helps you, that is writing it for you? And I said, no, I just sit in front of the computer and I write it straight from my head. And after that, I read it once just to correct any typos. And that's pretty much it. So the answer to your question is efficiency. And as I aged, I know not to be inefficient. In other words, when I was young, I would do all kinds of things, many of which did not materialize to anything, but now I can channel my time and my energy to a product very efficiently, very effectively.
Can I ask, will there be an Avi Loeb book about Three Eye Atlas coming? Will that be?
Oh, I would love to do it, but the dust has not settled yet. I have a book that I just finished with MIT Press. It's in the process of them reviewing it now because the book is finished. Should come out in 2026, I hope. And yes, that's a good subject for my next book. So, and there will be also a Netflix documentary coming out in 2026 where you can see the expedition that I led to the Pacific Ocean, as well as the NASCAR car race. They came with me to that. So all kinds of interesting materials there. I always I'm asked very often, what would you like to be remembered by? And I say that I define myself by the future, not the past. And I hope that the best is yet to come. And so anything that happened to me until now, is irrelevant. It's just preparation for the big moment that will happen in the future. So I'm just optimistic that there will be even more exciting content in my future.
I just hope the future doesn't lead to an alien asking what that bronze object is in your office.
Well, the question is whether they will find it as a compliment or not. Yeah. Because they might be offended by the image I have if it's not to their liking. I still have to think about what features I should assign to it. Usually they have these big eyes and they look like humans, but I will try to think of something more creative than that.
I really love your demeanor, and I find it fascinating, and I've got hundreds of questions more, but I don't want to take up any of your more time because you talked about efficiency and we said half an hour. I think we'll run well past that. So I'd love to keep to your efficient program.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. And stay tuned. The best is yet to come, and we should all be excited about the scientific process. Life is worthwhile when you regard it as a learning experience.
Can you bring me along?